I just spent this whole weekend watching the World Synchronized Skating Championship. I am absolutely fully aware of how little anybody cares about synchronized figure skating, but that's kind of not the point because this was televised. But I'm still here for it, and I still have a lot to say. But first, I just want to say I didn't set out to have a figure skating commentary channel on any social media platform, so this has kind of been a fun adventure, and this will be the last one I do for this competitive season, but next year it's on. So first things first, it's just a big deal that they had a World Synchronized Skating Championship because synchronized skating was the most affected of the disciplines by COVID-19. Synchronized skating is a sport where instead of having one skater on the ice or like two skaters on the ice, you have 16 to 20, depending on your division. It's dangerous, it's fast, it's a lot of fun, and it's a really great sport, especially for those skaters who know that they're not going to go to the Olympics. You just know pretty early on that I'm not landing triples and this is not for me. You can still join your local synchro program, work your butt off, and go to the national championships. And if you are really lucky and work really, really hard and happen to live in Massachusetts or Michigan, there's a chance that you might actually go to the world championship. So just the fact that they had the competition was cool, but the fact that I got to watch it on a live stream broadcast that was supported by Peacock, YouTube, and Facebook, that is unprecedented. And to understand the amount of time that you put into this, not to see yourself represented in media as an athlete, it's unreal. To watch synchronized skating on TV, I used to have to get up really early in the morning and set the VCR so that my friends could see a very badly recorded copy of Lifetime Sports for Women broadcasted at 7 a.m. on a Saturday or a Friday when absolutely no one's watching. And if you're really lucky, you might be seen in the very back, like somewhere in a fan shot of the upper deck. At one point, when I was skating in these divisions, my team was filmed during practice for an opening montage for a Lifetime Sports for Women synchronized skating coverage. And I got a total of like maybe half a second of a close up. I'm talking like 3 frames of television. And it was considered the biggest freaking thing in the world. And I was super proud of it. So to see synchronized skating on TV accurately presented and respected as a sport kind of got me in an emotional place. And I ended up pretty much crying for most of the competition. So I want to begin this whole thing by saying I cried a bit. And that's cool because that's what happened in figure skating. And as skaters, we need to normalize natural reactions to the experience because the emotional commitment and physical sacrifice that you put in order to get to where you are in the sport sometimes does deserve tears. Go on and cry, girl. Part 2 will be everything that I love. So for part 2, I think I want to talk about everything that I loved. I have notes. I love death spirals. I like death spirals when they're performed by pairs teams or ice dancing teams, but what I really like to see is like 8 pair teams doing synchronized death spirals. And I didn't think I'd ever see that. And I saw a lot of that this year. And I know that I've been away from synchronized skating for a really long time, and that's probably been going on for a while, but I was not prepared to see that. The other thing I want to note about these death spirals is these were not like double-handed forward leaning into your partner who's pivoting entry-level crap death spirals. These were like backward, outside edge, catch foot, single-handed death spirals. That means one person is pivoting into place while swinging around another person who is backwards, upside down, staring at them, holding on with one hand, and with their other hand holding onto their own ice skate blade. I didn't think I'd ever see that in a formation. Another thing I think I love is pants. Yeah, pants like a unitard. Again, it's one of those things I really didn't think I'd see. I didn't think I'd see a world where I like seeing other skaters compete in a onesie. But here we are. So I think I'm team pantsuit. And I know that that's been a big thing in other women's sports like gymnastics. The German national team competes in unitards. I just think it looks better. And it's not because I'm trying not to sexualize skaters. It's because I think that everyone needs to look good on the ice. And people, especially women of a certain age, look better in elongating looks. And when you cut up a unitard into a dress and tights and boots and everything, you start getting variation changes. It's just not flattering. Another thing that I love to see is when a team wins on home ice. And what that means is you win at home. This particular year, the team that won, the Supremes, is a Canadian team, and this competition was in Hamilton, Ontario. So it was really cool to watch them win in front of a hometown audience. And for people who are not familiar with what that means, at this level of skating, you're very rarely close to home. Rarely can anybody watch you perform, especially not at a national skating competition, because that involves a plane ticket fare, and a Worlds involves a passport. So this was even more special for these skaters to be able to achieve the utmost highest level of performance and competition, possibly in front of their friends and family. That was super special. And I feel like anybody who questions whether or not that makes a difference, check out Sarah Hughes winning the Olympic gold medal at Salt Lake, because it was just like that. Part 3 for things I hate. Okay, part 3 is things that I hated about the World Synchronized Skating Championship. But I want to be clear that some of these things I don't hate specifically about these championships. They're just things that I discovered I hated while watching these championships. While filming this video, I discovered I hated this filter. Okay, so first things first, I hate immature skating themes, and it's really common in a lot of skating competitions for your program to have a theme. It's thematic music, maybe you've looped in elements of your choreography and your costume, but when your theme is ridiculous, it detracts from your whole program. At the senior level of competition, there's absolutely no reason for you to be skating to anything reminiscent of a Disney princess. When your theme is so specifically reliant on people having seen the film that it relates to, then nobody gets it. So when you're out there wearing a blue unitard skating to Avatar, I don't think that you can count on the emotion of the movie to carry you through that program. Other bad themes include Moulin Rouge. If your program features the YMCA, you really just need to think about what you're doing with your life. The Masters division called They're Mad at You. I don't like kaleidoscope choreography where there's so much going on the ice that you don't know where to put your eye. I always feel like that is done on purpose because you're trying to distract from something else, like the fact that your team is a hot mess or that you've run out of steam. This is the kind of choreography where you have a circle going on here and then a couple lines going around the outside, and there's some people doing spins in the middle and some jumps on the outside, and there's just too much going on. I feel like that always looks like you're hoping that people are going to look at a specific part of the ice, but you can't guarantee that's going to happen. I hate when you're performing your program and people in the audience start to clap. Oh! But let's talk about why for a second. So in a large arena, like a stadium, whether it's full of people or not, the acoustics of that stadium are going to be different depending on where you are. So where you are sitting there in the upper deck in the nosebleed section, clapping along to somebody's music, you're clapping along to a rhythm that is not the same rhythm, the same timing that they're hearing on the ice. So you're screwing them up. So quit clapping. Unless you are Jason Brown and this is Riverdance, there's no reason for anybody to be clapping while I'm still skating. Clap afterwards. The last thing I need to talk about that I hate is the misuse of boys and men in synchronized skating choreography. So it's no secret that skating is just sort of dominated by women at the club level. But if you have guys on your team, that is a gift. A gift. Most men are bigger, stronger, faster, and can lift women up higher. And that's the point of pair skating. So when we're featuring it, we need to make sure that's done appropriately. If you have 5 men on your team, I want to see 5 overhead lifts. And what I saw was men in line next to each other and not blended well. If you want to blend, your guys need to be wearing something cohesive with the other girls on the team, not standing out in a special costume. And if you're going to highlight, you better bring triples here. Final summary in part 4. Part 5 of my World's feedback. So this kind of drove me crazy. At 1 hour and 50 minutes on the YouTube broadcast, the commentators were explaining how the team that had just skated had not been able to practice a lot. And this was a common theme because everybody's getting over COVID and we're all in different countries. So different protocols are odd in different places. And the particular team was mentioned that they were not able to practice because they were too close to the Olympic Village. And this made absolutely no sense because it was the Japanese team and the Olympics were in Beijing. Am I the only person that noticed that? Another thing that I can't get my head around completely is whether or not it's culturally appropriate in 2020 for us to use different cultural themes in our music. Everybody's trying to be respectful, and there are some examples of this that bother me more than others. Absolutely no one gets upset when somebody skates to the Lion King. But for some reason this year, when the Dutch team skated to music that was referred to as African, wearing clothing that was not African, and featuring no choreography that was even remotely African. I don't know if it's the exploitation of African nations or some weird woke trigger firing in my brain, but that one didn't sit well with me. But we also got to enjoy a Canadian program by a First Nations performer who also happens to be an operatic tenor, and that didn't bother me at all. And when the Finnish team skated to a piece of music by a Sami artist, I felt okay with that. I probably should just get over it. Another thing I want to see in the future is I want to see synchronized skating choreographers take a note from elite cheerleading choreographers because the way that cheerleading features their athletes, especially their men and their high-end tumblers, really brings the eye to where you want to see the action. And I feel like sometimes the eye is buried in the smorgasbord of craziness happening on the ice. At one point, a team came on wearing these really dated 90s dresses, and I thought, ooh, those are really, really ugly. Then their music started, and it was Whitney Houston, and now I can't decide whether or not that costume was ironic. There were several different teams at Worlds that featured unbelievable freestyle skills, so I kind of want to call out Hungary and Poland. I think Hungary synchronized axles in their short program, and I could be confusing the teams, but I believe Poland attempted but did not properly execute synchronized doubles at some point in their program, like a double sow, and I wasn't expecting that. So at the end of the day and the end of the season, I feel like we all deserve a big gold star as a skating community for rallying and bringing back our sport in a way that was respectful, following up what we saw at the Olympics. And finally, I want to say that I saw an outpouring of support for Ukrainian skaters at both the Junior Worlds and the World Figure Skating Championships. Not so much at this Worlds, but that was also cool to see. And I'll see everybody next year and hopefully have a lot of really cool skating to talk about and maybe a little bit to show. Peace out!